Okay, so I'm going to again divide you guys two groups. Okay, we'll start with that group. So your group, what is the cauda equina? Which one of these answers is correct? B, yes, is a sheaf of nerve fibers. So what is the area where the spinal cord ends called? Conus medullaris, very good. Okay, subarachnoid. Tell me the meningeal layers. Which are the meningeal layers?
Dura, Peter, and arachnoid.
Dura, pia, and arachnoid.
Arachnoid.
Okay. So yes, so cauda equina is a sheaf of nerve fibers. And where does the spinal cord end?
Where?
Where? At what level does it end?
It's the 1, 2. L1, 2.
L1, 2, yeah, between lumbar 1 and lumbar 2 vertebra, okay, in adults, yes. This group. C, yes. Equalize the pressure in the middle ear with the outside. Remember, the eustachian tube or auditory tube or pharyngotympanic tube opens into the middle ear cavity, right? And it connects the middle ear with the nasopharynx. So it helps to equalize. Remember, I told you when you swallow, if you kind of feel that blockage in your ear and you swallow and it goes pop, it equalizes the pressure of the middle ear with the outside, because through the middle ear, through the eustachian tube, it comes into the nasopharynx, which actually opens through the nose to the outside, okay?
I actually had a question about that. If you hold your nose and blow when you're trying to equalize the pressure in your ears, is that harmful?
Yeah, it hurts. It hurts. You shouldn't do that. You can, because if you hold your nose, you're not allowing the pressure to be equalized. You cause the pressure to build up in the middle ear. It'll make the tympanic membrane bulge.
So you could rupture.
Yeah, you shouldn't. I mean, it's unlikely that you'll rupture, but you shouldn't. So it was C. So think about glaucoma. I told you this condition, right? C, yes. Because it does cause the eyeball to become hard, and that's because of? Why? Increase in pressure, because there's more aqueous humor present, right? So it kind of makes it kind of tenses the whole eyeball. And it could be because there's an increased production or decreased absorption. Anything happen. Where does it get absorbed, this aqueous humor? Yes, but there's a particular vein, scleral venous sinus. Remember, does that ring a bell? Scleral venous sinus. And what produces aqueous humor? Pardon? Ciliary processes, yes, ciliary processes, yes. So the eyeball does not become soft, it becomes hard. So you guys. A, yes. A, because if there's remember I said these olfactory nerves, their nerves itself are receptors, and if when you sniff and you inhale toxic fumes, remember I said you always have to protect yourself. So they can get damaged, and this olfactory epithelium is in the roof of the nose. The midbrain has nothing to do. The first thing when you inhale is not going to go directly into your brain and to the midbrain. Neither is the cerebellum. What is one of the functions of cerebellum? Balance, equilibrium, so that nothing to do with smell. Thalamus is a sensory area there. So again, it doesn't get the sensations from olfaction. So none of these other areas. So it's involvement of the olfactory epithelium in the roof of the nose. So, your group. D? Yes. D. The reason is the membranous labyrinth is the part, the ducts. Can you all tell me the parts of the membranous labyrinth? You all know it. If I say it, then you say, oh yeah. Cochlear duct. Remember the one in the cochlea? The semicircular duct. Right? Remember I said it was like the PVC pipe and inside you put a transparent thing. So the semicircular duct, the cochlear duct, the saccule and the utricle. Those were all the membranous labyrinth. The bony labyrinth was the cochlea, the semicircular canal and the vestibule. So that bony one contained perilymph. The membranous does contain endolymph. One of the functions of the hypothalamus is to control body temperature, thirst, autonomic functions, controlling pituitary gland are the other functions. Only the inner ear is concerned with equilibrium. Which one is concerned with hearing? Which parts of the ear are concerned with hearing? Pardon? All of them. External, middle and internal. And this is wrong because it's the cones which are responsible for color vision, right? And bright vision in bright light. B, yes, loss of opposite field of vision. Remember, so if the right occipital cortex is gone, the left field of vision would be lost. Blindness of the eye would be only if the optic nerve went. Okay, and smell, of course, goes to which lobe of the brain? Temporal lobe, yes. This smell is to the temporal lobe, okay? See? Yes. Spinal nerves are connected to the spinal cord by roots. Remember? Dorsal root. What is another name for the dorsal root? Posterior, okay. And afferent. What kind of impulses are passing through the dorsal root? Sensory. Ventral root is also called? Efferent. Motor impulses or motor fibers come out. The rami. What do they contain? Mixed. That means both sensory, they are like the spinal nerve, right? They're both sensory and motor fibers. Ganglia are different. Gray matter and white matter, of course, are different. So it's by the roots that the spinal nerves are connected to the spinal cord. It's your turn? Okay. A, yes. Everybody agrees? Yes. Give me another example of an autonomic reflex. Salivation was one. Another example.
Glands.
Pupillary dilation or pupillary constriction, because again that was smooth muscle. Here it's a gland. Any other?
Cardiac.
Okay, increase in a heart rate. You see something and your heartbeat goes up. Okay. Any other glandular that you can think? Sweating, yes. Anything else? Pardon? Digestion, yes, very good. And how about crying? Lacrimation, right? Yes, I was waiting for that, right? Okay. Corneal and patellar reflexes. What kind of reflexes are these? Pardon? Somatic. Yes, somatic reflex, stretch reflexes they are called, right? Patellar is a stretch reflex, not the corneal. What's the difference between the patellar and the corneal reflex?
Is it patellar forward?
Pardon?
It's forward. I mean, like you're doing something.
No.
Patella is close to the spine and back, right?
Yes, the patella goes to the spinal cord and back, so through the same spinal nerve. The corneal involves what? The cranial nerves, right? So it involves, because it goes through, what is the corneal reflex? You touch the cornea and you blink. So it's still skeletal muscle, like here you hit the tendon of the patella and the muscle contracts. So here, this one is, both are somatic because they go to skeletal muscle. The differences are, this one is a stretch reflex, it goes to the spinal cord, it's taken in and comes out with the same nerve, the motor and sensory fibers. In corneal reflex, when you touch the eye, the cornea, it is through the fifth cranial nerve. Remember, the fifth nerve carries sensations from your face, right? The afferent pathway of the reflex arc. The efferent is your muscle, orbicularis oculi contracts, which is supplied by which nerve?
The second?
Seventh. Remember, muscles of facial expression, seventh, okay? So fifth and seventh. And plantar reflex, what kind of reflex is this? If someone was to take on your sole and was to scratch along the lateral side, it's a superficial reflex, right? This is different from these reflexes because this involves not only the spinal cord, but it also involves higher brain centers. Remember, the plantar, the cremasteric, and the abdominal reflexes. They involve both spinal cord and higher brain centers, okay? So salivation is an example, and lacrimation are examples of autonomic reflex. And like you all said, the others were constriction or dilation of pupil. Which system causes constriction of pupil?
No, it's
Parasympathetic. Remember, sympathetic, you'll always think like this. Your eyes dilate with fear, okay? Parasympathetic, yes. Salivation and lacrimation, I think I have a question on that, so let's see, we'll go to that. Which part of the nervous system helps in digestion and secretion from most of the glands? So digestion and also secretion from most of the glands. See? Yes. Sympathetic does not help with, in the sense it does not cause secretion. It sort of takes a minor role in digestion. Most of the digestive activity, which is contraction of the muscle and secretion from glands, is from parasympathetic. Look at all the glands. Your salivation, lacrimation is again parasympathetic. The glands which are supplied by sympathetic are only the sweat glands, okay, and the sebaceous, so just that. Somatic does not come in relation to glands at all, so it is the parasympathetic. So your astrocyte, yes, very good. What is microglia? What do microglia do? They have macrophages, so they're like phagocytic. Right, phagocytic. What does the Schwann cell do?
Lays down myelin.
But lays down myelin where?
CNS.
In the peripheral nervous system. Very good. And oligodendrocyte?
And CNS.
Lays down myelin in the CNS. Okay. Yes. See? Yes, the olfactory nerves pass through the cribriform plate of the ethmoid. Remember, look at the nasal cavity, the sagittal section. It goes in, they synapse in the olfactory bulb. A, yes, midbrain. So what is midbrain part of? Brainstem. What are the other structures which are part of the brainstem? Pons?
Pons and medulla.
Pons and medulla, right? Midbrain, pons and medulla. Remember the MPM. And everything with the thalamus is part of the diencephalon. So while we're here, which cavity is related, which sort of ventricular cavity is related to the diencephalon?
Is it the third?
Third ventricle, yes, very good. Which cavity is related to the midbrain?
It's fourth. Or no, it's the central?
Aqueduct.
Central aqueduct.
The lateral ventricles are related to?
Temporal? Like that one.
Cerebrum, the cerebral hemisphere. Remember, they are inside there. The fourth ventricle was related to the pons, the medulla, and the cerebellum. Okay, so yes, so midbrain is not part of the diencephalon. So whenever you're kind of studying like this, always try to relate other things which happen. So you should know functions of midbrain, know the cavity related to it. So that's why, your PowerPoints, I think, have kind of a good, they have everything in it. They tell you the cavity, they tell you what it is part of, and also some of the functions there, okay? So, you guys. Which one? B or D? D, yes. The posterior segment contains vitreous humor. The anterior segment contains aqueous humor. And the anterior segment is in front of the lens, posterior is behind the lens, right? And the iris, which is in front of the lens, divides that anterior segment into two parts. Remember, an anterior chamber and a posterior chamber. So here it was vitreous humor. And the $1 million question for you guys. D. Okay, yes. That's correct. Okay, good job.
With those questions.